When you block your Cozmeena, you block it from the wrong side or the purl side. Before you block, you have to finish on the ends where you tied on your skeins of yarn each time, between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. So you simply run your crochet hook through the back of 2 stitches and pull it through. You can go a couple out if you want, just enough to tie that end so it's not just leaving it something loose and open. Kind of finagle the back of the stitch. You'll have to look at it and see if it came through the front, but it should look something like that when it's finished. When you turn it over, you don't see it. Now the other way you can try to finish your skeins when you're changing to a new skein is end it on either end. If you end it on the side where there is the sloping side for the triangle where you've been increasing, you can actually leave enough length of your old skein and your new skein to add it into your fringe. When you begin your Cozmeena, you'll leave enough of a tail with your first stitch that you can add that in as fringe. When you finish your Cozmeena on the other end, make sure you leave enough to leave length for another piece of fringe that will all be tucked in together. So you need a pressing cloth, which is just a nice large white dish towel. An old diaper will work. Does not have to be new. You'll often use 2 during a pressing of a Cozmeena, or you will re-wet one a couple times. So when you lay your Cozmeena on your ironing board, one of the problems with it, it's a big piece of work. It's a big garment. It's a little unruly. So the best method I've found is to lay your wet pressing cloth, which is pretty wet, out enough so that you can use it as a weight to hold that top piece down. And then you're going to move out using as much of your ironing board as you have room for. Work your fingers and your pressing cloth so that it holds that top ridge as flat as possible. So eventually, if you get that on there properly, it'll hold it up there because it's wet and it's got weight to it. With your iron, you're going to stamp, not stroke back and forth, but you're going to stamp your work. You can hear the steam. And one of the things about each phase of making a Cozmeena is the different tactile piece you get, the different sense of touch, because now you have this wet, warm, steamy, just comforting, soothing piece. The pressing cloth actually protects the wool from scorching. And if you can see the difference between where the iron has been versus where it has not, you can see that it's flat and it's still bumpy over here. One of the other things you can do is you can start to pull and kind of give it some shape. But if you'll notice, I could pull here, but I can't pull here because this isn't warm enough. So you take your pressing cloth again, you lay it back over, and you stamp again. Your iron will cool down a little as you stamp through. So you have to kind of use your judgment and go slow. See, it kind of gets a blend to it. You can tell, unfortunately on video you can't, but you can tell by touch when it feels right, because the yarn will move and stay. If it's not warm enough here, I can move it, but it bounces back. Here, it's actually flattening and staying. Now you'll notice right now, the purl side looks a little, maybe not as even, but if you turn it over, the knit side is perfect. You can see where we tucked in the tails with our crochet hook. Now we can flatten that out and it will be as flat as you can possibly make it. You should notice that this particular piece of yarn in the skein, this is where the company tied on their new skein within their batch, in their big batch. So there's nothing you can do about this. The whole idea is just pull it behind so it's on the purl side or the wrong side. So now we're coming closer to the point. One of the things is the ironing board shape just isn't as conducive to blocking a Cozmeena as we might like. So a lot of it is just a matter of working with a big garment on an odd shape. So the pressing cloth protects the wool from scorching. Try not to go over because you just don't want to run the risk of damaging your wool in any way. It wouldn't probably happen immediately, only if you left it there, but It's better to be safe than sorry. All right, again, we can try to pull it, and will it stay? If you were touching this right now, it feels really nice and warm and kind of moist, and it's very sensory pleasing. It makes you feel good to do this. It's like folding warm laundry.